We are at a stage in the evolution of humankind where we will rediscover science in Africa. As you know, mathematics was invented in Africa, along with so much else in music and art and literature. But unfortunately, Africa was overtaken by Europe in the Middle Ages. There was the Renaissance and the beginning of, let's say, modern scientific thinking with Galileo and people like that. And Africa was left out and then, of course, held back by colonialism. I believe now is the time to emerge from Africa's dark ages and for Africa to rediscover its own way of doing science and to take control of its own destiny.
Scientists in Africa, they have to understand that this is a time where we can't just do science for sciences. Our sciences need to be translated to help community, to make impacts in the community. Back in DRC, when I was doing my undergrad, there was a course of logic of mathematics. So there was a professor from Belgium who was teaching that. He was explaining a lot of things. Himself, he was very excited on what he was teaching. Then I did ask him a question and say, okay, professor, everything, we do this thing, we do the demonstrations and mathematical logic, but what is the application of this? He just go to the corner on the windows, grab his beer, because the guy, he did have a long beard. And he say to me, I don't know. Then I say, okay, if you don't know, why are we doing all these things? Because I believe I'm here to learn so that I can help my community, my society with something, or I can use these things in some application that can help my community, my society. Then he said to me, I am doing this for my fun. It's for pleasure. That is also a challenge for African scientists. They always do science, teach and so on. We don't see impact, we don't see the application of that. We don't see how the connection of what has been taught at school and what can be applied to the community.
Africa is largely a consumer rather than a producer, and we are almost importing everything. I believe that the knowledge of mathematical science will change the whole game for Africa. You will have more inventors, you will have technology which will grow faster and sustainable. So knowing the mathematical science, in my opinion, shouldn't be an optional, it should be essential.
I see AIMS as the embodiment of mathematics that is trying to invade all aspects of science in Africa, with mathematics in terms of it training more youth, harnessing their talent, teaching them how to solve African issues by using African solutions developed by them to solve it, and which makes it interesting for me. As such, AIMS through the Next Einstein initiative is also able to acknowledge, and encourage people who've made an impact.
I was born in the east part of Democratic Republic of Congo, the town called Kisangani. My family was Catholics and went to the preschool, so in the family they want me to be a priest. I grew up questioning everything. In high school, I told to my parents that I want to be a musician. In the meantime, I was very good in math. I could not spend time to read mathematics, but it's come by itself. But also good in writing song and play guitar and all these things as well. So my mama said, no, my son, I want you to be a scientist.
When you look into literature, it tells you that Africa has about 198 scientists to a million people, which is quite few. And once we have funds, it means that more people will come into science. In my primary school days, I wanted to be an air hostess. But when we got into junior high schools and we were introduced to integrated science, I talked about these Newton laws. We do not know Newton, we haven't met Newton, but we mention his name, meaning that he's someone who has made an impact. I felt I also wanted to make an impact, whereby people do not know me, but they will mention my name.
I didn't choose science, actually. Science chose me. I want to be part of the solution. I want to make a difference. I want to make a significant contribution. My name is Hind Ali Ahmed. I'm originally from Sudan and I've been living in Ireland for the past 8 years. I came here in 2010 for a PhD program, which I completed in 2014 in Dublin Institute of Technology, School of Physics. And then I moved to Trinity College Dublin, Civil Engineering Department as a researcher and a lecturer in the Solar Energy Application Group. I always wanted to go for mechanical engineering because my brother Tayyip, he was doing mechanical engineering in the University of Khartoum, and I just wanted to be like him. We need more fund for research. If I don't have fund, how do I do research? You can't just go to university and teach because you're basically teaching a history of science. But if you don't have the foundation, if you don't have the infrastructures, for labs and all this, we don't have specific centers for science, So if we don't have that, how would I go? I would just basically get depressed and disappointed. I can't do research in this way, So the government have to put more money into research. They have to allocate money for research in science, and they have to see the link between development and science. Without that, you just can't make that development. You can't get me back if I don't have the foundations. We have to motivate more African scientists to come back to teach, because without motivation they will not come back.
Being a woman scientist in Africa, actually, we have a lot of challenges. There's something called subconscious biasness. Even the person will not tell you that you are a woman, so there's something you cannot do, but in their mind and the way they will approach you without saying it, you can sense it, that they think you have a limitation because you are a woman. Once more women come in, we can encourage others to come in. For me, I think I had it easy because my father also loved science. And right now, it's my dad who takes my kids to school, even though I prepare them. He helps me pick them up when I'm busy. And my husband is also a physician, so he sort of knows what science is, It's good when you get people like that. They understand you.
African science, we suffer a lot. I publish a paper, is good, but they just is African. They deny your paper. They will ask you, could you please join some others? Or whether they will say, okay, I don't feel the English is well in this paper, but I propose you to bring other people from US. They force you to have other cohort in your paper because they want to see some name there. That's mean they recognize the sciences. Through African Institute of Mathematics Sciences that I got to know to solve actually my initial problem that I started since I was earlier to understand it that why we look different, why you choose this, why we cannot choose all of us the same things, why these differences, how we cannot predict our health like the way we predict the weather today. So then I come across that bioinformatics, computational biology can actually use mathematics within the genetic data that can actually answer the question, because all those differences is in your code of life, the DNA. When we take the data of a person, we tell him his genetic history, the person become more confident on what the colonialist told him. He will know who he is actually, and where he come from. One aspect is a psychology aspect. So the person become more confident on himself. For example, the South African color. When you tell him you are a mix of different ancestors, but you are unique in the world. There's no one in the world that have his chromosome or his DNA code. It's like a shape of different segments. So you have the whole worldwide ancestry in you. That means you can have more potentials. So you can do more. That can actually remove that complex of inferiority to some people.
The project I did in Singularity was about energy. My team has developed an online platform for energy, and from there I saw opportunity of solar energy as a potential solution for Africa, and that's how I get myself into this field. I just wanted to work in that research and make a significant impact through my research, which I'm very committed to, and I'm very positive that in the near future this might bring great solutions for the energy Africa problems. This is a solar cell. It can absorb the sunlight, in physics terms, absorbing photons, and convert them directly to electricity. So the plasmonic luminescence is basically a combination of metal nanoparticles and luminescent in one layer, incorporated in polymer sheet. We can have them either as a thin layer, and that we call it downshifting layers. It will be just applied on the solar cell, something like that. So this is a downshifting layer, it's a plasmonic quantum dot downshifting layers. And we can have it either as a plasmonic solar concentrators. So the idea is you will have the solar cell attached to the edge of the sheet here, and when the solar radiation is being entered to the plate, it will be wave guided through total internal refraction, and it will be concentrated on the solar cell. So by doing that, you are basically using a small area of the solar cell, and you are reducing the cost of the solar cells and increasing the efficiency at the same time.
I was posted to a community in the Ashanti region, and I was a lab technician over there. So a woman came in, she was from one of the rural villages, she was pregnant, it was her first antenatal visit. So when we checked her parasitemia is whereby we check the number of malaria parasites you are infected with so that we can know your treatment to give you. So we checked, she had hair parasitemia. So we gave her SP, which is sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, which is what is recommended for pregnant women because it has less side effects. So we went home. So the next morning when we came back, we were going to check to repeat the test. When they told me that, I went to the ward, they told me that she died. So actually I was a bit shocked. Yeah, because I know people die from malaria, but to have the direct impact, like someone I just engaged in and the person is gone, really dawned on me. So having that encounter with malaria, so it made me develop an interest in malaria immunology to know how immune system, works during malaria infections. If you can really research into this field and you can come up with new innovations that can lead to better treatment options, and then it will give you the satisfaction because you know that the little you have done has directly impacted on their lives, and that is what actually research is about, to impact people's lives, to make their lives better. Almost everybody knows that our body helps us in fighting infections, but what most people do not know is that in order for our body to do that, it needs to learn to adapt to new pathogens or even to the old ones we have, which is evolving. And that is a very intricate process and quite complex. And in order for us to understand these things, that is why we apply mathematics in my work, in the sense of using something like quantitative methods, which uses mathematical models. Having that passion and then having the commitment that your science is going to solve an issue that you see an impact on the people around you, I think that makes the difference to be a scientist from Africa as compared to other sources. Because you know that no matter the challenges you face, once you have the passion for it and you have the motivation for it, you'll be able to overcome it. And once you've done that, people will also follow your footsteps. You know, so that we have more people coming into research because they know they'll have the impact. They know that even though challenges were there, others were able to overcome it. So why can't they also overcome it? Through agriculture, we can solve food security. You know, it can help us in conserving our conservation biology in terms of with climate change, and the rest in terms of disease outbreaks. Science can solve it. Science can help us know people who will be exposed to the disease, how people will respond to the infection, and how we can protect them or treat them.
When I heard about AIMS, it was is a center that recruit the best African, and they train them for problem solving in mathematics sciences. That's how I decided to move on. As also, I was like, I say, okay, I need to be trained for problem solving. In Africa, we need to create a school of leadership. For example, AIMS will bring all the best students who are going to be the future leader tomorrow. For my opinion, why not to have a leadership courses at AIMS? AIMS got center here in South Africa, in Senegal, Cameroon, Ghana, Rwanda, and they're keeping increasing the number across the network. So why not a part of science is mathematics, which is good to know sciences, but if you are not being trained to be a leader, that will still be a huge problem. Leadership is about legacy. I'll give an example. If you go to France, for example, those who do mathematics, they have school. If you see a student, you can link the student, you come from this school, from this master. Even to Russia, great mathematicians, Kolmogorov and all those people, you will see their student who they are disciple, who will say, you come from this school. But in Africa, we don't have that. We don't have that because our teacher, they did not have a kind of sense of leadership where they can pass legacy or create a kind of a disciple people can actually follow them. And we don't have that. That is in academy. In politics, the same. My opinion again, in Africa we have great leaders like Lumumba. We had Mandela. They're known to be great leaders, but for me, where they fell, actually, they did not duplicate themselves.
When I first moved from Sudan to South Africa to join AIMS, that was in 2005. So all my thinking at that time, I'll just go get the diploma and maybe do a master studies and then come back, join the academic sector and all this. But then I think AIMS experience have just opened my eyes. I got to meet people from different places in Africa. I got to see the problems we have in common like Africans, and I just felt like there's a lot we can do together, and I felt like I have more things I can give away, and I'm capable to do many things, like not just get the degree and go back,
AIMS is the biggest driver of that Africa we want. That Africa we want is a 50-year plan or 50-year strategy. But within that 50-year plan, there's a 10-year implementation plan, which started from 2014. And one of the aspirations in the 10-year implementation plan, it talks about a skill revolution. A skill of science and technology and IT skills. And I think AIMS is a driver of that
Small part of what AIMS is doing, for example, is reinventing the university. We have to get away from traditional styles of teaching, of rote learning, which has traumatized generations of young Africans, and instead move to more to styles of teaching which promote creativity and initiative rather than repetition of traditional forms of knowledge. Of necessity, AIMS had to be very economical. We had no money. Very international, because we couldn't pay lecturers. so we had to bring lecturers from overseas. But we made certain choices. which are all about quality. That for Africa, if we want to rekindle the flame of science in Africa, only the best will do. So we don't need second-rate lecturers in Africa. We need the very best scientists in Africa to come.
What we always do is we call the riskless asset R0.
What is so impressive is the young African scientists who come to Ames have deep in their hearts a commitment to truth, integrity, the future of their people, the future of society. More or less by definition, the students who come to Ames are not so interested in personal wealth or power. So there were these wonderful young people, and then bringing all of them together from across Africa, you create this very special cultural environment where Muslims, Christians, Francophone, Anglophone, Arabic-speaking, Portuguese-speaking, all in this melting pot, became incredibly stimulated by this environment, all united by their interest in math, in the future, in science and technology. Suddenly they sort of discover themselves and discover their mission in life. I'll give an example. I met somebody from Rwanda. His name is Prosper. He, of course, in his childhood went through the genocide in Rwanda. He's from a very disadvantaged background, came through a very modest academic system in Rwanda. There was no maths department in Rwanda until he graduated. He was one of the very first graduates in maths and physics. It took him 3 years to find a master's program because he kept getting turned down. Finally, he got into Ames, and he spoke only French. So he arrived at Cape Town. He was very shy. I met him then, and you wondered, can he actually do anything? So this guy, he learned English. He was one of the top students that year. Then he went to Johannesburg, did his master's in experimental physics. Totally new field. He never had a chance to do that in Rwanda. He again was one of the top students. After 2 years, he got his PhD in Holland. He was again one of the top PhD students in experimental physics in Holland, and now is a staff scientist at the Max Planck Institute in Germany, which is if not the leading, one of the leading institutes in the world. But you see this young guy in this world-leading role. And now you think, how many more are there like him?
For me, science is the backbone of every country's development because science leads to knowledge, knowledge to innovation, innovation to technology, which will lead to employment.
Africa is a good place to come. What I'm gonna do in Ireland where my family are, everything is built already, and the people, great people are already there to do great. What gonna be my contribution? Of course, if I look for life to survive, yes, but if I want actually to solve a problem, we have several problems here. We need more mathematicians, African mathematicians who can use African data to understand the diversity so we can solve the burden. Come back in Africa, we build this continent so that this continent can move on also to contribute in the world.
I believe that African policymakers have to see the link between development and science, because without science there is no way for development. Science is the foundation of modern societies.